Hello and welcome to another Reaconteur video, and in today's video I'll be comparing Jujutsu Infinite and Sorcery, the two Jujutsu Kaisen Roblox games. And before anyone says the comparison is unfair, it's a lot closer than you think it is, so just watch the video and make your own decision. And besides, this video is only to help both games improve on their downsides and faults, so that way they can both end up as great games. Make sure to subscribe, since only about 20% of the people watching right now are actually subscribed. And also, I'll be live at 6 PM Eastern Standard Times in a content creator battle royale tournament, so come to my stream at twitch.tv/Reaconteur. Now let's get straight into it. Alright, so first of all, I kind of want to talk about like non-major gray area features like Black Flash and Reverse Curse Technique. I guess they are kind of major, but they don't really fall into any specific category because they're just kind of mechanics. Anyway, I guess like Black Flash is kind of major, but they both just fall into this category for not being in the main game's base combat for either game, except kinda Jujutsu Infinite, which I'll talk about in a second. But the reason why I'm starting with this is because the smaller things have much more different changes in comparison to each game than the PvP or PvE, so I'll cover those later. Anyway, starting with Black Flash, I actually much prefer Sorcery's iteration of Black Flash. In Sorcery, upon landing an M1, there's a random chance you proc Black Sparks, which then allow you to use the Black Flash skill. Needing to press E before using it is annoying, but I think the random aspect of it makes it better than Jujutsu Infinite, because I like the RNG aspect of it. It's more accurate to what Black Flash is supposed to be and is said to be. In Jujutsu Infinite, you get a bar called Focus, that builds up when you do damage. As it fills up, you get Focus tokens, which allow you to use Black Flash or Reverse Curse Technique, which I'll touch upon in a bit. Regardless, to use Black Flash, you need to have one Focus token, and then you press M2, which is your crit, and R, which is the Black Flash. Alternatively, you can do Black Flash with certain physical strength moves like Rising Kick, etc. I personally don't like this system. It kinda goes against everything Black Flash is supposed to be, and also doesn't make sense at all. Like, Black Flash uses Focus and Focus tokens, but Black Flash is used sometimes when UG focuses, but generally, Black Flash kinda is just supposed to help you focus. Like in the show and manga, at least hitting a Black Flash is what takes you into a flow state. It's kind of stated like that multiple times. So already being focused can help you hit one because you're regulating your cursed energy better, but generally it's used to reach that point and not the other way around. Not like it matters though, since Black Flash is just an on-command modifier for most physical attacks that you can do in Jujutsu Infinite. So I definitely prefer Sorcery's Black Flash. As for Reverse Curse Technique, this one just has to go to Jujutsu Infinite. I know someone's gonna comment, but Sorcery is only 2 months old with a solo developer. No, it's not. The game's like a year in development, it just got sold off 2 months ago. I was playing it like 7 months ago with Vert testing out Boogie Woogie, and it had more moves back then. So don't tell me that. Okay? The game is not 2 months old, it just got sold 2 months ago. Anyway, this video is more for criticism for both games to improve upon than bashing either of them. I'm comparing the good and the bad of each game, so maybe the owners watching this video can get some good ideas and put it into their game. Anyway, in Jujutsu Infinite, Reverse Curse Technique is used through your focus bar, and has two usages, either a slow heal or a big burst of 15% of your maximum health, depending on if you have it upgraded all the way, which I'll talk about the upgrade and skill tree in a bit. It also has a bunch of miscellaneous upgrades you can get, and I'll also cover those later. As for Sorcery, Reverse Curse Technique is very weird. It's basically always either super strong or super weak depending on its use case. Since you super easily lose arms in Sorcery, using Reverse Curse Technique to grow them back is very important. However, doing this uses up most of your RCT output, requiring you to deal damage to get it back. The problem with that is that if you lose your arm, use Reverse Curse Technique and then lose your arm again immediately after, since there's no limb loss cooldown or pity or anything, which by the way you guys should implement, then you've basically lost the fight. Especially if you lose your main arm, because then you can't use techniques properly or use your weapon. This is the scenario in which RCT is way too weak in Sorcery, when it comes to growing arms back. However, when it comes to healing, Reverse Curse Technique can be way too strong. A bit of an unfair comparison, since I probably have more cursed energy than 90% of the players in this game, since I have the clan that gives you the most cursed energy, and then I have like just a bunch of stat points in cursed energy. It's a little bit unfun. One full bar of cursed energy heals me back for like a bit more than half my health in like 5 seconds. If I want to in any given fight, I can run and heal back to full in like 12 seconds. And because of this game's bad chasing measures, there's nothing whoever I'm fighting can do except also use Reverse Curse Technique. But the funny thing is, since I have a lot of cursed energy, it's always a winning trade for me. So I always come out on top in terms of health by healing first, and more, and then I can push in when my opponent has no cursed energy, and I'm at a huge advantage for it just because I have more cursed energy. It's quite dumb, and this system does need a lot of reworks, which I talked about in my last video, but yeah, it definitely just goes to Jujutsu Infinite in terms of Reverse Curse Technique. I really hate Reverse Curse Technique in Sorcery. It's very poorly done in my opinion. Now, as far as domains go, I actually like both games' iterations of domains for different reasons. In Sorcery, domains are quite literally an instant win, which makes them feel accurately strong. The problem with them, however, is first of all, Heavenly Restriction doesn't bypass domains, which that's just stupid, it's supposed to. Then there's also Simple Domain, which is useless garbage, so there's no counterplay to domains if you don't have a domain. If you have a domain and your opponent doesn't have a domain and you just pop yours, then you just win the fight, unless you have like Idle Death Gamble and then you get really unlucky. Anyway, second of all, Megumi's domain is a reskin of Jogo's domain, and it is not at all accurate to the source material. Chimera Shadow Garden is garbage, but they're probably going to rework it, so I won't really take points off or judge them for that. Now, Jujutsu Infinite domains, first of all, have a lot of more potential counterplay, and it's very well designed counterplay as well. Generally, good game design includes trade-offs. If you get a positive, you should also get a negative, unless the requirement for the initial positive is hard to obtain. Hollow Wicker Basket and Simple Domain in Jujutsu Infinite both do this perfectly, applying downsides of either making you unable to use your curse technique or being confined to a space respectively, while making you unaffected by the domains, still leaving you at a disadvantage like you should be in a domain, but while giving you a little bit of a fighting chance. This is good game design. I do really like this. Now, I do, however, like both games' iterations of the domains, because one makes them feel accurately strong, and one of them is just really good game design, so it's for different reasons, and actually completely opposite reasons, but they're two completely opposites on the same spectrum, and I like both opposite sides of that spectrum. I do prefer Jujutsu Infinite's Domain Clash minigame though, it's more fun. Next up is the progression. Both games are mission based. Jujutsu Infinite, however, has more missions, so to be fair, I won't consider the non-curse extermination mission, or missions that don't exist in Sorcery that Jujutsu Infinite has. Which, in that case, the progression as far as progress routing goes, both games are identical. The only difference lies in the PvE, which I'll cover in a bit. Both games have stat allocation and skill trees, however, I really hate Sorcery's stat allocation system. In Jujutsu Infinite, one stat point in a stat is a marginal increase to that stat, making you slightly stronger. In Sorcery, one stat point does nothing. Your stats only increase in Sorcery every 5 stat points, and you get 1 point per level. So if you have 80 stat points in Cursed Energy, you get 16 more Cursed Energy. But if you have 84 points in Cursed Energy, you still have 16 more Cursed Energy. So you're only actually getting stronger every 5 levels. Whoever thought this was fine is a little bit mentally deficient, but hopefully they fix it or change it. As for the skills, Jujutsu Infinite has a vast skill tree which provides both passive and active ability upgrades. Ignoring the clear UI differences, the skill trees act basically the same, except for the fact that Jujutsu Infinite has significantly more passives and upgrades, while Sorcery is mostly skill-based, with most upgrades coming from upgrading your skills via curse gems and getting their special variants and stuff at level 5. But looking at them in detail, both systems are quite similar. The only difference is that you can't upgrade moves with Jujutsu, and that the fact that most of your upgrades come from moves in Jujutsu Sorcery, and then most things in the skill trees in Jujutsu Infinite are passive anyway. Now for PvE, this point goes to neither games. They both have a lot of issues with the PvE. I hate both of them. First of all, Sorcery. In Sorcery, you often get jumped by the NPCs, and the NPCs are super strong. Like, it never really feels like you get any stronger throughout a progression because your health doesn't increase in PvE. You still get half your health bar taken away by any given aerial combo from the curse NPCs. At least the PvE in Sorcery can take some brain power to do. In Jujutsu Infinite, I will say, the bosses are really cool, but they all kind of have the same problem. You kind of just wait for them to cycle attacks and get stunned, and then you spam moves at them. Some bosses spawn enemies that you have to kill before spamming moves on, and outside of PvP combos, don't really matter because the AI is quite dumb, meaning you just kind of spam moves until the enemies are dead, or jump them with friends in the case of most actual bosses. You can learn some patterns, but it's pretty minimal skill, and all you kind of have to do is spam Q, and then you should be dodging everything anyway. I do really like the Dagon boss fight though, because of the way they did it, where like water pillars rise and you have to kind of like move around to dodge them, and there's like water balls and stuff you have to dodge. Actually really well done. The Dagon boss fight is easily the best boss fight in that game. What I will say about the other boss fights though, Mahito and Toji both have like the same problems of spamming moves and being too fast for you to hit until they're like sitting on the floor doing nothing because I guess they're tired or some reason, or something like that. The Dagon boss fight is really good though. They did an amazing job with that. As for the PvP, I prefer Jujutsu Infinite's PvP since combos actually quite matter and learning to dodge and parry certain moves is quite important. Landing combos in Jujutsu Infinite on other players also feels really cool and takes some degree of skill to do. And nobody is allowed to complain this comparison isn't fair because both games have entirely different combat styles. I just prefer Jujutsu Infinite's because it feels cool. As for Sorcery, the PvP has a lot more balancing issues which are to be fixed soon, but I still hate them. First of all, pressing E before certain inputs is extremely annoying and unnecessary. The only one that's fine is the flash step, because Q and E are easy to press together, but E and N for the curse sense sucks, because if I'm pressing E and N, I either have to stop moving because I have to move my fingers, or I have to stop looking around with my mouse to press N, which is dumb because the entire point of using Curse Sense is for me to look around and see who's near me. And then using E and Black Flash no matter what slot it's in sucks. The easiest option for Black Flash is either mouse buttons, like I have, which still sucks, or E and C. But even E and C sucks because it kinda locks up your movement. I could make a 30-minute video on why this isn't optimal due to the ligaments in your fingers connecting at certain points, because there are literal anatomical reasons for why this shit sucks. The ligaments in your hand that connect these fingers are connected, so pressing both kind of locks down your fingers. It's a remnant of old systems they had in the game that were terrible, and they now have no reason to exist, so please remove having to press E before doing certain actions. It's really annoying. If you guys want to know more about that though, if you know anything about the anatomy of the hand, you kind of have ligaments and stuff that connect certain fingers, so your index finger and ring finger are connected, which makes using both of them at the same time hard. Same with your thumb. Look, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but just know, anatomically, this system fucking sucks. Also, I really hate how easy it is to lose arms. I've lost both of my arms in singular attacks from the Shrine Curse technique, and if you lose both arms, there's literally nothing you can do anymore. And there's no cooldown or protection from losing an arm if you just grew one back from Reverse Curse technique. So you can lose one, and then immediately lose it again and have no way of growing it back, since you need to deal damage to get RCT output. And if you lose your right arm, now you actually have no way to get it back, because you're not going to be damaging people, because you can't use any of your stuff when you lose your main arm. And then the balancing is absolutely insane. I already made a whole video talking about it, but that's all I need to talk about. One point to Jujutsu Infinite does go for creativity though. They made a lot of moves and some very unique ones at that. And I know Sorcery isn't very old, but two of the Shrine moves are literally the exact same move, except one of them is slightly bigger. And I'm not going to excuse that when Boogie Woogie and Projection Sorcery have one move each, when in my last video I made rough drafts to give them 3 moves each, and the devs couldn't even do that. Jujutsu Infinite also just feels really balanced. Like, every curse technique is pretty viable, which is good considering the fact that you can have up to 4. So it's pretty cool. I do like that a lot. Also, for some reason in Jujutsu Infinite, you airdrop on enemy locations like it's Fortnite. I don't really understand that. Anyway, both games have their anti-running tools, so let's talk about that. In Sorcery, players below 25 or 20% health or so get reduced speed, but this isn't very useful since Reverse Curse makes healing super fast. And even if it's before the RCT unlock, like in the culling games right now, you can just run before you're slowed down and it doesn't matter. You literally can't catch up to anyone that has more cursed energy than you because of the way the dashes work. So if you run out of cursed energy, yeah, you're just losing like speed on the person who has more cursed energy than you. It's not at all fair. In Jujutsu Infinite, you can place veils which stop people from running and confine them to a large space. This is an amazing mechanic. Whoever thought of using veils in this way for the game is amazing. It's literally perfect in every way and makes sense in lore. It stops people from running, so you can't run. You can't run. It stops people from running. Oh my god, it's amazing. It locks them down to a 1v1. But then people can still come in to assist in the fight, so it's not like completely fair, but it's as fair as it should be. People shouldn't be able to run. It's just a really good system, and I hope Sorcery adds better anti-running mechanics. Now, this last comparison is very unfair, so don't really take this, but Jujutsu Infinite just looks amazing. For the lackluster PvE, they really made up for it with amazing cutscenes and visual effects, and honestly, I think this game has the best tutorial I've ever seen in a Roblox game. Like, it actually feels like a video game, and not a boring Roblox tutorial like every game seems to have, where they just point arrows at stuff and tell you to do things. And I really appreciate that. Anyway, I hope to see both games improve on their faults. Make sure to subscribe and join my Discord. Shoutouts to Goobka, Drizzy Drake Fan, and Cyberboy21. I love you all, have an amazing day, and goodbye.